Hello, my name is Richard, and I want to introduce you to my review of the American Countess River Cruise going up the Mississippi River from New Orleans all the way up to Memphis. We took this sailing in in the summer of 2021, late July to early August, going right on up the Mississippi River. So I want to give you a bit of an overview. Myself, I worked on cruise ships for 7 years. So I worked on the Celebrity cruises for 7 years. I wanted to give a review of something a little bit different. This is not an ocean cruise, but actually a river cruise. So first up, what's interesting is you actually check in at the hotel the day before. So you check in at the hotel the day before, and it's very similar to a cruise ship check-in. In the days of the coronavirus right now, you do have to actually provide your vaccine card to show that you've been double vaccinated. And you can see they do close rather early, so you do have to check in. And the next morning you have breakfast in the hotel. The hotel stay is actually included with your booking, which does include breakfast, but does not actually include lunch. So you're on your own for lunch the day of your sailing, unlike a traditional cruise. We took it to go because we weren't getting moving early in the morning. Now next up, you'll notice that the actual cruise ship terminal, the ocean boat terminal, the river cruise terminal, is not a normal terminal at all. It is a shopping mall. It's the Riverwalk Mall in New Orleans, which is exactly where the cruise ships actually dock when they go to New Orleans. So you'll see you go right outside of the shopping mall, and what do you got right outside the shopping mall? You've got a giant riverboat. Well, a rather sizable riverboat. And you'll see right there, you'll see the paddle wheel. It's obviously not on because the boat is not in motion. But you'll see it's about 4 decks, pretty large, probably about the size of a football field is long. I'm not a big sports fan, but probably about the size of a football field. You can see right there, you'll see you've got your life raft, you've got the big paddle wheels, which we learned later on were actually added afterwards, but they do provide propulsion. And you'll see the gate is very simple. This is how you would actually get on, is right up here, there's one woman standing right by a gate. Not a huge security, not a huge terminal. They do take your luggage if you would like them to from the hotel and bring it over. And you can see that bus in the background. So they do bring the people over from the hotel in a bus. And you can ride that bus, or you can go spend some time in the mall, spend some time in town, and then go inside. What's beneficial here is you don't need the big check-in at the port because you actually have your cruise card that you got when you checked in at the hotel. So it's something quite efficient. All of your documents have been checked. Everything's been checked. Everything's been scanned by the time you're ready to get on board, and you're just waiting for that lady right there to open the gate for you. And then once she opens the gate, you are good to go. So you'll see the gate's been opened, and I got in line behind the people that came on the bus from the hotel. Again, the hotel is included in your first night of the sailing. It is how the American Queen Steamboat Company has always been. But it is included in the first night of the sailing. They do your coronavirus checks the evening before to make sure you've got your vaccinations. As of the time we sailed, they were not requiring a negative coronavirus test. But what you'll see is it's just right up the gangway and on board. No big facilities or anything like that. But what you'll also notice, unlike a cruise ship, everybody's got bags. There's no bag screener, no bag scanner, no security, nothing like that. We've got my key right there. Very similar barcode key as you will get on all of the different cruise ships all around the world. And we're going to go in and we're going to take a quick tour. So this is the library. You get to it right when you get on board. And you'll see we've got our library right there. It's got a nice selection of books. Nothing special, but a really nice little room. This is more designed like a yacht than a standard cruise ship. But this was someplace I never saw really that busy. But we'll see right next to it is the card room, which we may see in a minute, and that was actually a lot busier. But you'll see that library is right on the main deck where you get on. There are some bikes outside, so you can actually go ahead and you can rent those bikes. They would also do some trivia and other activities during the sailing in the library from time to time. And you would always have some the Rivalorian around there as well. Now, another area that was on the boat was actually the game room. And the game room was busy almost all the time. This was taken a few minutes after embarkation, and people were already hanging out in the game room. So the game room was busy almost all the time during the entire sailing. So that was a very happening place. They had board games and other things, and a giant TV that we actually used to watch some movies on later in the evening. Now this is a outdoor cabin. This is cabin 230 on board. It is the best cabin they have. It's a balcony cabin, a larger balcony cabin on deck 2. You can see we've got the bed split, and you've got the daily program, the river bill right there. You've got a sofa, and you have a reasonable amount of space in the room. You also have a balcony right outside. Now, on embarkation day, they were actually cleaning the balcony. So you will see they watered down the balcony. Now, that's pretty normal. You'll see that on normal ocean cruises as well. So it's a normal thing. Now, these balconies are very different than the balconies on level 3, which you'll see later. These are actually private balconies. They have a divider which can be removed, but nobody can walk right in front of your balcony. The balconies on level 3 are very different than that, which you'll see in a little bit. Now, what was also really unique about these cabins is that they had the biggest bathrooms I've ever seen in a non-handicapped or non-suite room on board any sort of ship. But on the way, these are the closets, and the closet has an automatic light, so when you open it, the light goes on. But this is the bathroom right here. And you'll see we've got the toilet, we've got the shower, we've got everything like that right there. But you'll see it is huge. This bathroom is gigantic, and it is not a handicap bathroom. This is a standard bathroom on board the American Countess. We've heard some of the other ships in the fleet are slightly smaller than this, but they all strive for large bathrooms. Now, this is an inside cabin, and you'll see it's a little bit more cozy. And you've got all the amenities. You've got a desk there. You have a lot of USB outlets all over because it was just recently refurbished, a coffee machine. You've got myself right there. And we've got the closet with the automatic light again. We've got USB ports right there and a nice little clock. We've got the closet with the automatic lights there. And we've got the bathrobes and the safe in the closet. But again, there's a lot of plugs, a lot of USB ports. You can see they brought the luggage right on board. Got it right on our beds, right as it is right there. And then we've actually got a slightly smaller bathroom, but still dramatically large compared to most other ships I've been on. Now, they have these water bottles in the room that they give you in every room that can be filled up at stations all around the ship. It's to prevent waste. So you've got these water stations, similar to what you see in like a mall or a gym, but they have about 8 or so of them all over the ship. Now, we're going down from the cabin to the main grand foyer area. So we've got this main grand foyer area. We're going to come on down to it. And this was right when we got on board, so everybody had just gone to their rooms, but you've got the live music playing in the grand foyer area. That's the band, which you'll hear a little bit of later. And that grand foyer area's got the bar. It's got the entrance to the theater for the show. It's got guest services right down that way. And you have right behind me, I'm rotating towards it right now, is actually the main dining room on board. So you'll see there's the band right there. Lots of seating. Never had a problem finding a seat. And then here comes the main dining room on board. It's the grand dining room. Now the size on this, remember, this is only a couple hundred person boat. So you'll see it's not gigantic. It's about the size of, if you're familiar with Celebrity, it's about the size of the Tuscan Grill on Celebrity ships, or a standard specialty restaurant, maybe Chops Grill on the Royal Caribbean cruises. But you can see you've got it all nice and laid out there. And what they've got is they've got the sit-down service. So for breakfast and lunch, you can order sit-down menu, but you also have for breakfast and lunch, dinner is sit-down only, but for breakfast and lunch, you have the buffet in the back, which is they will serve you buffet, and it's got some quick selections. And what I would do there is I would use that back selection as an appetizer station, and then I would be able to actually order as well from the menu for my main course. So you can see this fits about 80 people. Now we're going to take a look at it in a minute during service just so you can see the difference. The American Queen Steamboat Company is not running anywhere near 100% capacity right now. So you'll see we've got very laid back. This is a lunch service, so they are serving the buffet, as well as you can order from the table as well. So you've got a selection. I would always go up to the buffet line. You get soups, you get appetizers. You could actually get full meals there, especially for breakfast if you're in a rush. But you'll see you've got some different soups right there. You've got peas and carrots. You've got 2 different types of pasta, veggie lovers and meat lovers. And you've got a whole selection of desserts. That's where I would always get dessert at lunchtime. You've got a whole selection of desserts, some different sandwiches and salads all the time. Now, this is again you could get from there, or you could order from a menu as well with burgers and things of the sort. So that is the main plating, and let's take a look at some of the food. There's a varied selection of food from steaks to steaks to now we've got some soup and the best ribs we had, even including Memphis, the best ribs we had. And this is room service, very interesting. There's not a lot of dining venues open 24 hours a day, so sometimes room service is your only option that is available. But they have some interesting things. It is included, like charcuterie boards. Something unique about room service that my mom noticed is there's no room service trays in the hallway because they actually have these very specific things to hold the room service trays so they don't sit in the hallway. A little bit more steak, and you can see it's ocean quality food or better. This is a shrimp po' boy. Ocean quality food or better. I really think it's in line with the specialty restaurants on board most ocean liners because they're cooking for a lot fewer people. There's a crab cake right there. And that is a carrot hot dog that is made with a carrot. I will tell you, and the other cool thing is lobster is available every single night in some way, shape, or form. It might not always be a tail, but that's something they pride themselves on. Some really unique presentations of salads, standard lunch burger with some tater tots, Rice Krispie treats were fantastic. Just giving you an idea on the food. We got chicken and waffles, which were really good. And we've got breakfast sandwiches, so things like an egg McMuffin per se, we've got going on there. And we got more steak. And even pastas for the pasta lovers. This is a seafood pasta. This just gives you a little idea. Pork chop, that was one of the best dishes on board. And the boom boom shrimp, which we had 3 of each. 3 orders, and a little bit more of the breakfast selection that you have on board the American Countess, and likely all American. And remember, lobster every night, not always tail, but something lobster-based every night, and even prime rib, you can make it a surf and turf. Now, the other dining option on board for actual dining, there's a snacking option we'll take a look at a bit later, was the River Grill. I want you to think of this kind of like the Lido deck or the Ocean View Grill on most larger cruise ships. You've got the Lido deck or the Ocean View Grill. This is all the way in the back of the boat, and it's got the paddle wheel out the window, which I'll show you in a minute, but you've got a full bar on the right, and then you also have a full drink station, so you've got another place to fill up your water bottles. These are all over the boat, and you've got a juice machine, and you've got one of the most advanced coffee machines I've ever seen. I am not a coffee drinker myself, but my mom is, and she liked all these different coffees that were available for her coffeeing pleasure. So you got a pretty advanced coffee machine there. And you can make all those different menu items. Hot chocolate was the one thing I actually drank from that coffee machine. And we could swipe for more, but I think that's all that was available there. But what you've got up here is you've got kind of a buffet type of situation. Again, you've got your full bar right there. This was only open for breakfast and lunch. You got behind the bar, you've got Trevor right there. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the food situation, what's available right here. You do have at this time, due to the pandemic, when we sailed, you do have a crew member actually serving you the food. So you're not picking up the dishes yourself, but you'll see this was taken the same time as the main dining room, and it's somewhat of a similar menu than is available in the main dining room in their buffet option. So this is kind of like the shortcut buffet option only. There is no way to order anything to your table, but I have heard you can actually order room service if you wanted to that back area in the River Grill. It is only open for breakfast and lunch. There is no casual option for dinner, so at the time, they were not actually enforcing a dress code. Now, the one he's going to show us an idea of what's going on there. We've got that pasta that was downstairs. I think you've got another pot. You've got the peas and carrots that were downstairs. So you can kind of see they share a very similar menu, at least in their buffet side. They share an extreme, and that was one of the main entrees there. That was a beef entree. But you have really nice outdoor dining here that's pretty much unusable when moving, because what you'll see is the water from the Mississippi River just gets thrown right up there on the deck by the paddle wheel. They should build some kind of splash guard or something there, because you'll even see, if you see that black on the table, that's actually sediment from the river. So it's sediment from the river falling onto the table, and you get a nice shower, and that is not the cleanest water in the world, as you can see right there. Now we've got the main entertainment on board, and I want to actually let you see some of it for yourself, so I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let you enjoy some entertainment on board the American Countess.
It's true, that's where I belong.
We go outside here in the heat and we just stand and we're uncomfortable. Can you imagine working all day outside in that heat?
Alright, now that we've taken a look at the entertainment, let's take a look at some of the rest of the inside of the boat. You'll see this is the main foyer area. This is where the future vacations, future cruises are. And we actually booked our next sailing on board. And you can see this is the main seating area where people will go before the show, before dinner, after dinner, depending whether they have early or late seating. This is the main bar. This is actually the section they expanded. This was originally a casino ship, and they plopped a giant section in the middle, and they added this right in the middle of the actual boat. We've got the guest relations or guest services desk. The guest services team on board was absolutely awesome. They did help us with a lot of things getting going. We did come from an ocean background, so going to a river cruising background after sailing ocean all your life was a little bit different. I will tell you one of the big differences is the gift shop. You're probably used to gift shops with diamonds and everything like that. This is the gift shop. You'll see it's just some American Countess clothing. They actually had a good sale on some of it. We picked up some things, but we've got some American Countess clothing and some American Queen Steamboat Company clothing that is available for purchase right there at respectably reasonable prices overall. They also have some postcards in there, as well as a very small amount of sundries. So you don't want to forget any batteries, any laptop chargers, any cell phone chargers, anything. Although you do have a lot of ports, you could even buy the plate from dinner. You got hats, but you do have a lot of ports along the way that have drugstores and other things at them should you need them. So they only have a very small amount of deodorant and sunscreen and combs and things like that, but next to nothing. So I would not rely on that. But you've got some great pictures of the American Queen, which is the main boat for the company. You've got some rocking chairs and other things like that. And we've got going under a bridge, which we did a lot of over this sailing. Now, next up, we've got the main bar. What's great about the main bar, there are 2 bars on board. There's one here and one up in their version of the Lido deck. But the great thing about the bar is you don't have to pull out your key. Everybody has a beverage package. Now, everybody has a beverage package and everybody gets their well liquors, which their well liquors are fantastic. But if you do want to upgrade a little bit, they have a great selection of premium liquors. So you've got some great wells. All the wells you'll know the names of. It's nothing that's like trash wells or anything like that. But they do have a package that I'll show you in a second that you can actually upgrade on the first day for. It's about $5 to $10 a day per person in your cabin. You get that, you get a little sticker on your key. You'll see a little red sticker on my key later, and you get top shelf liquors. They had a lot of rums that were from like Mount Gay is from Barbados. It's one of my favorite rums from working on ships, tequilas and brandies. But like I said, for most people, the included well liquors would be great. And the cocktails on board were fantastic. The 2 bartenders on board were making amazing cocktails. So this is called the Sexy Gator. It's something I kind of came up with one of the bartenders. And we can see the varied amount of cocktails and drinks. They also have beer, wine, cider. They've made sangrias, pretty much whatever you want, mudslides, anything. Now this is one of the bartenders on board, and he actually made up a drink. We made it up called the Sexy Gator, because you got gators on the river, maybe crocodiles, which you'll see later. And it's got a nice little mix right there. It's kind of like a Sex on the Beach, but it's not on the beach color, and it's got a little bit of blood on the bottom for the gator. And there we go. And one of the other bartenders, something I did not enjoy when I was in New Orleans, was a hurricane at Pat O'Reilly's. And she said, I'm going to make you a better hurricane. And guess what? She actually made a better hurricane. Shake, shake, shake. Pour it out. And it was an absolutely delicious hurricane with some good Caribbean rum right in it. So more of a tiki drink than a hurricane, but I'm not one to argue about that. Now, this is another great place on board. It is called Perks. It's kind of like the coffee shop, kind of like if you were to have a little coffee cafe and you were to have little snacks and things in the coffee shop. But it's kind of like a coffee shop that's mixed with a movie theater and a bunch of other things like that. So you'll see you've got your standard drink machines. You've got the juice magic machine. You've got ice. You've got water in there. You've got cookies that are up there during most of the day. And then you have syrups next to all of your different coffees. And you got one of those fancy coffee machines that can make everything. Again, the only thing I ever order from it is hot chocolate, so don't judge me there. And the best thing on board to eat is ice cream. So you had an ice cream machine, and it always worked. It was more like Chick-fil-A than McDonald's. So Chick-fil-A ice cream machine, because it works, unlike McDonald's one, and all kinds of different toppings. You would see anybody, all the kids and all the kids at heart would be here, as well as all the crew. You'd see all the crew come in and get an ice cream. It was a really nice place, and they had bathrooms all over. That was something else that was awesome. There were bathrooms, public bathrooms everywhere, and public hand washing stations everywhere. Now, this is the outside deck. On the lower decks, And this outside deck on the lower decks was open only when the ship was in port because you could see it's very, very exposed. Meaning that, you see all the mechanics of everything to get on and off. Now, we wouldn't dock in a lot of places. We would do kind of a controlled crash, and they would take one of those two gangways and they'd stick it ashore. If we were docking to the left of the boat, they'd take the left one. If we were docking to the right of the boat, they would take the right one. But again, this deck was not available while we were at sea, or at lake, or at river, sorry, while we were at river. And then you also had, this was kind of the storeroom for the ship's popcorn, for the boat's popcorn as well. So you had a popcorn machine. We figured out how to use the popcorn machine when we want to make popcorn later in the evening, but there was always nice popcorn right in there. Now, after you eat all the ice cream, what do you got to do next? Well, unfortunately, you might have to go to the gym. So there's a very, 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 very small gym on board, pretty much one of every exercise machine. So you've got that right by where you go on. You've got one of every exercise machine in there, and you've got one of those water stations you'll see in a second as well, so you can fill up your water bottles. And we've got a treadmill, we've got an elliptical, we've got a stand-up bike, and we've got a recline bike. And that's pretty much what's in there, and a couple of weights. But what's really interesting is there's a golf cart down there. So sometimes the gangway is really steep. You can get on and off the gangway with that golf cart. We did have the golf cart drop us at the casino at one of the ports. But if you do have mobility issues, that golf cart will take you from the gangway all the way to the hop-on, hop-off buses, which we'll talk about in a few seconds' time. Golf cart, something I've never seen on a cruise ship before, but it's on a river cruise. So that's a plus. Now, we're just going to take a look at the grand lobby again there. And you'll see, again, this is the walking in from the gym. You'll see you've got the guest services desk. You've got your seating, more than enough seating for everybody. The gift shop was closed at this time. And they do a lot of receptions for the captain's toast. This was a reception for the captain's toast that was happening right when that started. So you had all of the different champagne that was available for the captain to welcome you. We did have two captains on this sailing because they switched over mid-sailing. Very unique, but they did. And we've got another water machine going into the chart room. So the chart room was very unique. This is the River Lorry, and this is a person on board that's a member of the entertainment team, and they will teach you all about the river. So they're always hanging up in the chart room, and they also have some lectures down in the main theater. And these are actually charts of the entire Mississippi River, and something really cool is that the captains on board, or anybody who acts as a captain, has to be able to draw the entire river by their head. What's really interesting is it's very unique to see the river transited, because what you'll see in a minute, they have big spotlights that actually let you see what's coming up on the river. The spotlight will point out one way, they'll move the spotlight around, and unlike a traditional ocean cruise, the bridge is not really hidden. It's not, you don't know where it is, you can see it's right outside of the chart room. So they did some really nice placement of the chart room. You've got, if you go up a little bit, you've got the bridge right there. And you've got a secure area, but what was really cool, they did do some bridge tours. So there's the general alarm, and you've got paddle wheel controls, which I thought was really unique on the bridge, and you've got the searchlights. So they're always searching out in front for anything that the boat could hit. And something I've wanted to do forever that I've never gotten to do was pull the horn, and they let me actually do that. So let's pull the horn in a few seconds. But you can see all the tech there. I've always wanted to pull the horn.
Go ahead.
And they let me pull the horn. I've spent years on cruise ships, never got to pull the horn, and I got to pull the horn, so that was really unique. Now, the most wasted deck on this entire, the biggest waste on this entire river cruise is the top deck. You'll see right there we've got two pieces of technology. The flat one is their internet antenna, and that did not work very well. We'll get to that a bit later. And then you've got their television antenna. Now you have this entire open deck in the back, and this entire open deck, there is no pool, there is no hot tub, there is no whirlpool, there is nothing like that. There are not even actual sunbeds. There's all of this seating, there's no shade. There's really nothing to do up here. There was not a single activity done up here, and the weather was good some days. But the one reason you'd want to come up is you get a fantastic view from up here of the big old paddle wheeler. It's not running right now, but again, you can get a great view of the big old paddle wheeler. This was added after they acquired the riverboat, which was originally a casino boat. And what's really cool is I learned that this does propel the ship, as well as there are Aussie pods underneath that actually give a lot of the propulsion as well. So it's not steered by a rudder; it's actually steered by Aussie pods, much like a cruise ship is moved around. So it's actually really cool. You see the water's a little dirtier than the ocean water. You're not going to see the bottom of the water or any dolphins or anything, but we do see some alligators a little bit later on, which you'll see. So that is the really unique thing about a Mississippi paddle wheeler, is that big old paddle wheel. And you notice an American flag. This is an American flagged vessel. All American crew, American flagged vessel. Very, very unique in the industry, and actually not that much more expensive than a traditional cruise. So the crew are not what's actually bringing up the price, or bringing down the price per se on a traditional cruise of them not being American. Now this is really cool in the front. I mentioned this earlier. So these are the two gangways, and they would just pull out the gangway to the left or pull out the gangway to the right. So you'd be able to pull out the gangway either way. But what's interesting about these gangways is they were actually used back in the day when these were all casino boats, the classic river boats. They were used to put the showgirls on and to bring people onto the boat. So you put the showgirls on there and you'd show the show you're going to have in your showroom, and they would be like a stage. So they actually called them left stage and right stage. That's your little history of the river on this video. And you'll see this is where the classic pictures are taken of people in rocking chairs sitting and watching the Mississippi roll by. It was end of July, early August, very hot outside. You didn't see a lot of people relaxing outside during the day, but these were great at night. Now, we were talking about the deck 2 balconies being private before. These are the deck 3 balconies. These are not private. So this is actually the running track. This is where we had one of our rooms, was right on here. And essentially, your room is there, and you have a little chain to keep people out of your balcony there, but it is not a private balcony. So if you book the American Countess on deck number 2, you will have a private balcony if you have a balcony room. And now what we've got is we've got the hop-on, hop-off buses. The buses would actually follow us around, and they would have water. They'd have a water cooler, and you'd have free hop-on, hop-off tours. Now, this was an extra tour to go to the swamp, and we saw some gators in the swamp, and you can even see some jumped up. This was an additional charge to do this tour. It was not included on the hop-on, hop-off. Now, this was included in the hop-on, hop-off. So this was actually an old mansion, and this was the singing that happened at the end of the mansion tour.
For tomorrow is unsure, though the generations fade away, her splendor will endure. So long, my friends, and fare thee well, as you travel on your way. Just remember to return again.
Now, we came back one day very, very late. By very, very late, I mean 20 minutes before all aboard, and we were the last people on board. Now, why I want to show you this is what's so unique about coming onto a riverboat instead of a normal boat. You'll notice no giant security team, no metal detectors, no x-rays, nothing like that. MARSEC level 1, you scan your card, boop, and you are on board. It is very, 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 very different than an ocean cruise, and I love it. It's almost like you have a private yacht and you're just sharing it with a couple other families. So it is very different than a traditional cruise. Now, this was another excursion that was an upcharge excursion. They're not too bad, but this was actually an ATV excursion that was available in Mississippi, and it had cow tying, and had ATVing and knife throwing and axe throwing and archery all built into a single tour. I don't know if it's fit for the normal demographic of this ship, but pretty much everybody who was under 40 years old who was on board the riverboat actually went on this tour. Now, this was an included tour. This is one of the oldest steam-powered carousels in the United States. It was part of the hop-on, hop-off tour, and it used to be powered by steam, but obviously It's not anymore, but what's really cool is they actually still have the original steam engine in there. Now, places like this, there's a lot of different places like this that are actually included with your cruise. So it's really unique that they include these excursions, really interesting excursions in all the towns you go to, included with a hop-on, hop-off bus as well. Now, one of the other things we did was a bourbon tasting, and a bourbon tasting. And this is something they put together. They generally do entire bourbon tasting sailings, but they're not doing that this time of year. But this was one of the fleet F&B directors.
So you're wondering, like, who thinks of that? So we're on the Mississippi. If anybody doesn't know, the Bourbon Trail is in Kentucky, but that bourbon comes down this river. And it has to New Orleans for a long, long time, hundreds of years, because we shipped it around the world.
Overall, things were great, but my absolute largest complaint was the useless Wi-Fi on board. Fortunately, other than a single Saturday, we were in port every day, and I was able to use my iPad to jump my iPhone and my laptop off the internet. But you'll see, when you're at sea, the internet is completely and utterly worthless. It does you no good. That's because they rely on cellular internet, so when you're not in cellular range, you're not getting anything, unlike a cruise ship where you would have satellite internet. Which is very different. Now, they do have satellite hardware on board, but it seems like the satellite hardware is not active right now. So that is the biggest improvement they need to make, because dining times is the only slight other disappointment, but that was fixed by room service. So this should give you a good overview of the American Countess in the summer of 2021. We were under pandemic protocols at the time. Everybody on board was vaccinated. Nobody needed to wear a mask. Nobody wore a mask, not even crew members, because everybody who stepped foot on that river cruise was vaccinated. I hope you enjoyed it. If you had any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We're looking forward to our next sailing coming up in a few months on the American Empress. Have a great day.